Hello and welcome to another Every Tuesday tutorial. In this week's tutorial, we're creating a Mother's Day layout directly in Procreate. So what you see on screen is exactly what we're creating together. This coming Sunday is Mother's Day here in the US, but you can adapt this layout for any occasion that you would like. We're going to be creating some really simple gouache florals, and we're going to be utilizing our quadrant rotational symmetry in Procreate, which will make the entire process go really quickly, even though it looks more complex than it actually is. So we'll be using my paid Gouache Lovers Procreate brush set for this entire piece. I'll leave a link in the video description to that, and the color palette is free as always. So there's a link in the video description to that as well. I'm going to create a brand new canvas that's 1500 pixels by 1500 pixels at 300 dpi. I work in the display P3 color profile, but if you're on an older iPad and don't have access to that, then the default sRGB color profile is perfectly fine. Okay, I've got my brand new canvas, and the first thing I'm going to do is set the background color. So come to your layers, tap on background color, and we're going to use this dark navy. And the next thing we're going to do is pop in our lettering and center that, and then we can start creating all of the artwork around our lettering. So you can use typable text for this if you'd prefer to do that instead. I'm just going to write out the word mom. So I'm going to name this layer mom. So I'm going to grab this first color up at the top, and then I'm going to grab the dried out brush from the Gouache Lovers set, and then letter out whatever you would like right here. Once you have your lettering, center it up. So I like having uniform down here with snapping turned on, and that allows me to get those crosshairs. Then I'll know that my lettering is perfectly centered. However, I have more of an entry stem on this M than my exit stem on this M. So visually it actually doesn't seem centered, even though it is technically centered. So I'm going to scoot this over to the left just a little bit. That way visually it will look centered, even though I know it's not actually centered, to accommodate that extra bit of entry stem. So now we're going to start painting in all of our elements, and in order to do that, we need to go and turn on our quadrant symmetry. The first thing I'm going to do is create a brand new layer above my mom layer, and this one's going to be called stems. And in order to turn on our symmetry, you're going to hit the wrench, you're going to hit canvas, toggle on drawing guide, and then hit edit drawing guide. Down here, you're going to turn on symmetry, hit the options button right here. You want to turn on quadrant, and then toggle on rotational symmetry. You should have crosshairs right here. You can't really see them because we've got a dark background on this one. So in order to brighten them up, you're just going to drag up here on this color bar over to the right, and then we can get a lighter color. I'm going to increase the thickness and the opacity so you can see it really well on screen, and then hit done. On our layers palette, you can see on our stems layer, it says assisted now, and that lets you know that we have the symmetry turned on. So as long as you have assisted on your layer, that symmetry will be taking effect with anything you draw. So with the rotational symmetry, anything I draw in one quadrant will rotate and also repeat in the other quadrants. So you can see what that looks like. So we're going to add in all of our stems, but we're going to be using the liner brush for this, and I'm going to reduce the size down to about, 4%. And this part is the really fun part. We're just going to draw a bunch of stems in, and just be aware of how close you're getting to mom down here as you're drawing. And I'm going to do a bunch of separate ones here because I want everything to feel like it's branching off of the lettering. So you can see on that last one that I drew, it repeated within the lettering itself, but it's fine everywhere else. I like how it looks everywhere else. But these ones I need to get rid of. But if I get rid of them in one place, it's going to get rid of them in the other places. And I want to keep the top and bottom ones. So in order to do that, we just need to turn off the rotational symmetry. So tap on the layer thumbnail and uncheck drawing assist just by tapping on it. And now that assisted is gone right here, I can edit individual elements without things repeating. So now if I draw over here, you can see it didn't repeat in my other quadrants. So I can grab my eraser tool and just erase away where it repeated within my lettering. Once you have that all set, now we're going to start painting in the other elements on our stems. So we need to paint in some floral elements and some leaves on all of these stems. So let's take care of the florals first. The florals are going to be on multiple layers because we've got some layering going on them. And you can add as much detail as you'd like. I will do the max amount of detail because I always like getting carried away with these, but feel free to edit it down however much you'd prefer. So I'm going to create a brand new layer and label this one Flowers 1. And on our flowers one layer, we're going to be using the streaky semi-transparent brush, and we're going to be using this first pink color on the second row. And then to make sure that our flowers are repeating all the way around, that way we don't have to paint each one individually, we need to turn on the symmetry settings for this layer since we're on a brand new layer now. And luckily, we don't have to go back into our settings, into our drawing guide, and into our symmetry settings. All we have to do is tap on the layer thumbnail and toggle on drawing assist by tapping it. And this will take on whatever your last used symmetry settings were. So because we haven't changed them and we don't need to change them, we're all set to go. These flowers are going to be 3-petaled flowers, and this streaky semi-transparent brush is pressure sensitive, so I can go little pressure, lots of pressure, little pressure, and you can see we've got some really pretty streaks in here. And if I put 3 of these next to each other, I've got a flower just like that. So it's a really fast way to paint flowers. And for the flower buds, all you're going to do is do 1 petal straight down the center, and there you go. So I'm just going to come around and vary up, putting flowers and flower buds on these stems. I've got all of the flowers in, and you'll remember that we erased the repeating stems that were on the left and right side, but we kept the top and bottom. So it's still going to repeat with any elements we paint on the top and bottom stems. So we just need to make sure that we come back in and erase these. And if you'll remember, all we have to do is tap on the layer thumbnail, toggle off drawing assist, and then we can grab our eraser and erase away anything we don't need that's been repeated. We've got our base flower layer down, and the next thing we're going to do is start adding some additional details to this. So I'm going to create a brand new layer, label this one Flowers 2. And for this one, I'm going to add in 2 different details. I'm going to switch my brush over to the dried out brush. I'm going to turn on my symmetry settings again for this one. So just tap on the layer thumbnail and tap on drawing assist. For the color for this one, I'm going to grab this top row, the last one on the top row, and we're just going to add some extra color to the base of this so it looks like there's a bit of a shadow here. So I'm just going to put in a block of color on each of these, and then on the flower buds, I'm just going to scribble in a little area right here. I'm going to leave these extra bits for right now because we're going to add some more detail on the same layer. So I'm going to switch over to the lightest pink color, which is the second one in the second row. And then just on the tips of these, I'm just going to put some lines up here as kind of a highlight. And I'm using the same dried out brush for this. I think we've got all of them now. So now we can erase away these extra bits. So on this layer, tap on the layer thumbnail, turn off drawing assist, grab your eraser and erase those away. And then the last detail on the flowers themselves, we're going to create a brand new layer, label this one Flowers 3. I'm going to return back to my white color, so it's the first one up at the top. I'm going to keep my dried out brush selected. I'm going to turn my symmetry back on, so tap on the layer thumbnail for this brand new layer called Flowers 3, tap on drawing assist, and for these ones, we're just going to overlap the shadow that we put in just slightly. So this is that transition area from the stem to the flower. Okay, once you have them all in there, let's erase away these extra pieces. So tap on the layer thumbnail, toggle off drawing assist to grab your eraser and erase those away. Okay, we've got all of our flowers done now, so we can group them all together and just label this one Flowers. So now we can move on to our leaves. So I'm going to create a brand new layer, label this one Leaves, and we're going to grab our green color right here. We're going to switch back to our streaky semi-transparent brush, and I'm going to turn on the symmetry again. So tap on the layer thumbnail and choose drawing assist. And for these ones, you're just going to put leaves on wherever you would like. And once again, this is a pressure sensitive brush, so I can start with little pressure, lots of pressure, a little pressure, and get leaves really quickly that way. It does take a little bit of practice, but once you have it down, it can go really fast. Okay, I noticed that I overlapped this flower bud and I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to erase this one and repaint it. And that should fill out your layout quite a bit after you have that. So now we're going to erase those extra bits. So toggle off drawing assist and erase those away. I'm also going to erase this one right here because it's getting really close to my lettering, and I may paint a new one in just a little bit further away. This next part is optional because it is a little bit more advanced, but I will kind of give you a basic summary of what we're going to do. We're going to come back to our leaves layer. We're going to toggle on our symmetry settings again. So tap in the layer thumbnail and choose drawing assist. The next thing we're going to do is utilize a layer mask because I want to put lines through these leaves just to give it a little bit more detail. So I'm going to mask out the center of the leaf. If you're unfamiliar with layer masking, I'll leave a link on screen to my free course, Procreate 5X for Beginners. There's an entire module on layer masking. So if you've ever been curious about what layer masking is, what clipping masks are, how to use them, when to use them, that answers all of those questions. The course is entirely free, and you will be all set from this moment forward with mastering layer masks. So in order to apply a layer mask, you want to tap on the layer thumbnail and choose mask, and you're going to paint in black or white on the layer mask. We're going to paint in black because we're hiding portions, and all of that is explained in the module in that free course. So I'm going to grab my liner brush for this, and I'm going to make sure black is selected. And if it ever isn't, you just want to double tap where black is, and then you'll get true black. I'm going to reduce the size of this a bit more down to 3%. And because we have our symmetry settings on, this will take effect for all of these leaves. So all I'm going to do is draw a line right down the middle of them, and that will hide these portions versus erasing them. Using a layer mask is a non-destructive form of editing. It allows me to hide portions and then bring them back if I ever want to without having to redraw an entire element. So I'm just hiding these, and if I ever want them brought back, I just paint in white instead of black, and then I can bring it back just like that. So it's pretty cool. So I'm back to painting in black. So it's just a smarter way of working when you have to do a lot of small details like this, where if you mess up, it's going to be a pain to fix things. And if you will remember, I painted this one in separately, so I need to mask it separately from my symmetry settings. So I'm going to come back to my layer, turn off my symmetry settings by tapping the layer thumbnail and hitting drawing assist, and now I can return to my layer mask. You want to make sure that the bright blue is on the layer mask before you do this, otherwise you're going to be painting in black on your actual artwork layer. You want to be painting on the layer mask whenever you're painting in black or white. So now I can just draw this line in, and now I'm all set to go. I've got my leaves all ready, and the next thing we're going to do is add in our final details, which are little daisies everywhere, and then we're going to throw in some dots too as extra filler, just so everything feels really full, so we don't have any gaps that are drawing our attention, like this gap right here draws my attention, but for not the right reasons. So we're going to fill that in with little elements, and we're going to surround our lettering with those elements as well. We can also turn off our guides. We don't need that anymore. If you like having them on, there's nothing wrong with keeping them on, but I'm going to turn mine off because I don't like seeing them if I don't need to see them, especially for when I start filling everything out. I don't want things to start feeling like I've got 4 boxes, and if I get rid of them, then everything just starts looking more natural for me. Okay, so I'm going to create a brand new layer, and for these next couple of layers, I'm not going to utilize symmetry at all, because having a lot of symmetry elements, if you do all of them with symmetry, it can start feeling that way, like everything is repeating everywhere. So I always like having a few layers where I just draw, even though it's a little more time consuming, where I draw in all the elements individually. That way I fill in all these gaps in different ways, so the viewer has no idea how much time I saved with the elements that I did use symmetry for, because everything looks like it's original and that it's not as repeated that way. So on this layer 9, I'm going to label this one daisies, and I'm going to grab this dark, almost reddish orangish color, and I'm going to actually keep my liner brush for this because it makes it really easy to draw these. I'm going to return to a 4% brush size, and for these, they're really cute and really easy. You're just going to draw 5 lines. Actually, let's make these a little bit bigger. I'm going to come up to 8%, draw 5 lines, and then we'll come back and put dots in the centers of them. So I'm just going to put these anywhere there's a gap, and you can vary up the sizes of them too. So I can do a few that are a little bit larger and then some that are itty bitty. So I'm putting a whole bunch around my mom lettering because I want to draw the viewer's attention to the lettering and then have them look at everything else. It's a lot of little flowers, but at least it fills everything out. And now we're going to put in the centers of these, and I'm just going to keep them all in the same layer since these are super easy elements to paint. If I mess up, it's not a big deal for me to redraw it. So I'm just going to grab my white color. I can reduce the size by, I'll come down to 6%, and I'm just going to put a little dot in each one of these. And then the last little filler element I like to use are some dots here. And so I'm just going to create a brand new layer, label this one dots. And you can keep all of these the same size if you'd like. You can change up the scale. I'm probably going to do a mixture of that. So I'm just going to come through here. And this is another one of those layers where I draw each one of them individually all the way around without utilizing the symmetry because I want it to feel more unique that way. And there we go. So that's how to create some very simple Mother's Day gouache florals directly in Procreate. Once again, links to everything mentioned in this tutorial, including the Gouache Lovers brush set and the free color palette, are right in the video description. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please hit the like button, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you can be notified of new tutorials just like this one in the future. For more Procreate tutorials and freebies, head on over to my site, every-tuesday.com. You can also find me over on Instagram. My handle is every Tuesday. If you try this out and post it there, I would love it if you tag me. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week.